Hey VC, how you doing? It's Bill with the Voniverse. Got a different type of video tonight. I'm going to do a ranking video of my ranking of the 1970s studio releases from the band Yes. This is the 50th anniversary of Yes. They formed in 1968. They're still actually playing today. Box set just came out with I think 5 studio albums from the Yes album through Relayer, which are in this grouping of records that I have here. This box set is the Steven Wilson remix, so I've been seeing a lot of those reviews popping up and unboxing videos on YouTube. So Yes has been on my mind as of late, so I thought this would be a good chance to take a look at their 70s studio albums and let you know what my ranking of them are. So 1 through 8. There's 8 albums. I'm not listening to Yes. I got Gentle Giant playing in the background because I was doing some copyright research on YouTube to see if Yes music is good to play in the videos, and it looks like you get flagged if you play Yes music, so I figured I'd just stay away from that and put on some Gentle Giant. So again, this is my ranking, and I'm sure some of you will disagree, or everyone has their own opinions. This is my current ranking of these 8 records. Come to me in a month and it might change. But I'll show you the order of the records of when they were released, and then I'll go through and say where I think they fall in from worst to first. Although I say worst, all of these records I really do like. So when my least favorite of these records doesn't mean that I don't like it. I do in fact like all these records. It just so happens that the ones at the bottom of the list are my least favorite of that group, but I still really enjoy them. So first we have 1970, Yes, Time and a Word. I won't talk about these until I hold them up for my ranking. So 1970, Yes, Time and a Word. 1971, the Yes album. 1972, Fragile. Also 1972, Close to the Edge. 1973, Tales from Topographic Oceans. It's a double album. I also have a reissue from 2000. What year? I think it's 2014. I forgot to look up when this reissue was. But I got the original in 1973 and then a 2014 reissue. Relayer. Going for the One. And Tormato. I forgot to mention, let's see. So Tales from Topographic Oceans came out in 1973. Relayer came out in 1974. The band took a hiatus. Going for the One came out in 1977. And then Tormato came out in 1978. So now, my ranking. So that was 8 records. So number 8 on my list currently, like I said, in a month, 2 months from now, it could change. Things could change around, but right now, Tormato is my least favorite of this grouping. However, this album has one of my favorite Yes songs called Onward. It's a Chris Squire song, and it's just beautiful, and it's got beautiful harmonies on it. It's just a really sweet beautiful song. So Tormato came out in 1978. In the band were Chris Squire, Rick Wakeman, Alan White, Steve Howe, and John Anderson. I don't know how much you know about Yes, but Chris Squire plays bass, Rick Wakeman plays keyboards, Alan White on drums, Steve Howe guitars, and John Anderson on vocals. So the track listing on here is Future Times, Rejoice, Don't Kill the Whale, Madrigal, Release on side 1, and then side 2 is Arriving UFO, Circus of Heaven, Onward, and On the Silent Wings of Freedom. So the reason why it's not my favorite, I mean, there's several songs on here that just don't stack up with other Yes songs in my opinion, like Arriving UFO, Madrigal, Circus of Heaven. Those are a little bit lower quality in my opinion, but Don't Kill the Whale, brilliant song. Onward, like I mentioned, is awesome, and On the Silent Wings of Freedom is a prog classic. Drums and bass in that song are just amazing. So that's number 8, Tormato. Number 7 is, again in my ranking, Time and a Word. This came out in 1970. In the band at this time, although this picture doesn't represent properly, this is Chris Squire on bass, Bill Bruford on drums, Tony Kaye on keyboards, John Anderson on vocals, and then they're showing Steve Howe here, but because he joined the band in 1970, but the guitarist on this album is actually Peter Banks. I think there's a picture of him back here. Yeah, you can't really tell, but Peter Banks. So, you know what? I hadn't listened to this record in a long time, but I recently played it, and I was blown away by how much I really enjoyed it. So it starts off with a Richie Havens cover, No Opportunity Necessary, No Experience Needed. Great song. You know, there's really not a bad song on this one, but it's different than the later Yes albums. That I feel like they were still finding their way a little bit on this album, but I mean, songs like Sweet Dreams, great song. The title song Time and a Word is a great song. Astral Traveler, it's got a bit of psych in it. So solid album. I really enjoyed listening to it. But I put this as number 7 in my studio Yes 1970s albums. And I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but I said studio releases, so I'm not including the live album Yes songs or the compilation Yesterdays. So that was number 7. So number 6. Some of you may give me some slack on this, but I put Tales from Topographic Oceans at number 6. Again, like I said, in a month, 2 months, this could move up easily into the top 5. So this is 1973, and in the band are Chris Squire on bass, Steve Howe on guitars, John Anderson on vocals, Alan White on drums, and Rick Wakeman on keyboards. This is a double album, and it contains 4 sides of music and 4 songs. That's it. Now the strong songs for me are sides 1 and side 4. So you have side 1 is The Revealing Science of God, and that is just an amazing piece of music, in my opinion. It's beautiful. It's got great vocals. It's got a great theme throughout it. I just really like it. Tales from Topographic Oceans is really Steve Howe really plays excellent on this album. I feel like him and John Anderson really shine on Tales from Topographic Oceans. So side 1 is The Revealing Science of God, and then side 4 is a song called Ritual, and that is the other great song, in my opinion, on this record. Got a lot of power and great drum solo break towards the end of it, kind of like a real climactic portion of the song, and then it just eases into this nice, beautiful ending, which is Ritual is a great song. So, and then the middle tracks, you have on side 2 is called The Remembering, and on side 3 is The Ancient. Now these two are a little bit more, maybe I want to say abstract. They're not as easy listens as sides 1 and side 4. So that's what I put at number 6, is Tales from Topographic Oceans. So number 5, in my opinion, currently, is Relayer. So this came out in 1974. The players are Chris Squire on bass, Steve Howe on guitars, Alan White on drums, John Anderson on vocals, and Patrick Moraz on keyboards. So Rick Wakeman had left after Tales of Topographic Oceans. Patrick Moraz comes in for this album, and he kills it. 3 songs. Starting with an epic prog classic called The Gates of Delirium. It's really a song about war, and you just feel like you're in the middle of a battle when you're listening to this song. And then there's another prog classic song on here called Sound Chaser. It's a great song, in my opinion. Got the drums on it are phenomenal. One of Alan White's best pieces of work, in my opinion, for drums. And then it's got a slower song called To Be Over, which, again, Steve Howe does a great job on guitar in that song. So I put Relayer at number 5. Now, number 4. Again, this is my list currently, so you might disagree with me. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. If you want to put your list down below in the comments, please do. I'd love to hear your take. But number 4 for me is the Yes album. So this album is really where I think Yes found their legs in the not that their first 2 releases weren't any good. They were Time and a Word, like I mentioned earlier, great album. But here they really found the style of music that they were going to play moving forward. So you have Steve Howe. It's his first official album with Yes. Chris Squire, John Anderson, Tony Kaye, and Bill Bruford. So Tony Kaye on keyboards. I already mentioned Chris Squire on bass, John Anderson on vocals, and the great Bill Bruford on drums, who happens to be my favorite drummer. I think the guy is just incredible. So the Yes album came out in 1971. Of course, it's got Yours Is No Disgrace, classic songs like Starship Trooper, I've Seen All Good People, Your Move, very popular song. Steve Howe has a solo song called The Clap, which is a neat instrumental by him, live performance. So other standout tracks are Perpetual Change and Adventure. I mean, every single song on here. Side 1 is Yours Is No Disgrace, The Clap, Starship Trooper, and then side 2 is I've Seen All Good People, Your Move, Venture, and Perpetual Change. Every single song is great. So that's number 4, again, in my opinion. So number 3 on my list, again, it's my list. Don't anybody get up in arms. The prog rock classic Fragile. This has the standout lineup of Yes, in my opinion. So you have Chris Squire on bass, Steve Howe on guitars, Rick Wakeman on keyboards, John Anderson on vocals, and then again the great Bill Bruford on drums. So of course this produced the hit Roundabout, but this has other amazing songs like Heart of the Sunrise and South Side of the Sky, Long Distance Runaround. So what can I say about this album? So it came out in 1972. Each member had their own track that they took care of. So let's see. Chris Squire did the end of Long Distance Runaround. There's a song called The Fish, or Schindleria Praematoris, which is, I guess, fish in Latin. So he plays every guitar on that song. I'm not 100% sure if it's all bass guitar, but he plays it all. It's really, really amazing piece of music if you've never heard it. And then, so Rick Wakeman has a song, Cans and Brahms. It's extracts from Brahms' 4th Symphony in E minor, 3rd movement. And then Steve Howe has a guitar piece, classical guitar piece called Mood for a Day. Bill Bruford has a very short song called 5% for Nothing, and that I think he just went into the studio and grabbed pieces of other bits and stuff that the band was working on and pieced it together. It's very, very strange, but pretty cool, very short. And then John Anderson has a song called We Have Heaven, where it builds on itself. So he starts off saying one phrase and then he builds on it with another phrase, and it's a really, really cool song that I enjoy. And then at the end of the album, after Heart of the Sunrise, it comes back for a bit of a reprise. Pretty cool. So Fragile for me comes in at number 3. Great album, can't go wrong with this one. Highly recommend it. So number 2 is Going for the One. Now this lineup is after Relayer, so they Patrick Moraz goes on his way and Rick Wakeman comes back into the fold. So Rick Wakeman on keyboards, Steve Howe on guitars, Chris Squire on bass, John Anderson on vocals, and Alan White on drums. This is a fantastic album. I think, yes, we're a little more rejuvenated when this came back in. Rick Wakeman was, I guess he felt more part of the band again. And him and John Anderson especially, I feel, shine on this album. The whole band does, but Rick, you could tell he felt more included. And so starts off with Going for the One, a great song. Cool, it's a single album, but it's a cool triple gatefold here. The guys in the band. So after Going for the One is a great song called Turn of the Century. Beautiful song. Like I said, Rick Wakeman really shines. Then a song called Parallels, another great song. And then a beautiful song called Wondrous Stories. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it or not, but beautiful, beautiful song. And then it closes out with an epic 15-minute song called Awaken. And that, in my opinion, is one of Yes's masterpieces. Phenomenal song. Chris Squire had a special bass made up with 3 necks. I'm not exactly sure what each neck did or does. Rick Wakeman even plays like a pipe organ, church organ. Brilliant song. There's some bootleg video out there of them recording that album. It's this album Going for the One, and there's a scene in that where all 5 of them are in a circle with all different types of percussion, just jumping up and down and shaking things, and it's really, really neat. And you can hear all that in the song. It's like I said, it's epic, classic song. So Going for the One, my second favorite 70s studio Yes album. I just love it. Awesome album. So that leaves number 1 on my list. If you haven't figured it out, it's Close to the Edge. I'm sure I've mentioned it before that Close to the Edge is my favorite Yes record. So of course it's going to be the top of my 70s studio recordings. Again, this is the standout lineup of Yes, in my opinion, with Bill Bruford on drums, Chris Squire on bass, Steve Howe on guitars, Rick Wakeman on keyboards, John Anderson on vocals. So the title track, Close to the Edge, takes up a whole side of an album. Epic song. Maybe the most epic prog rock song ever. It's right up there, if not. The recording of this album was very, very interesting, especially that song Close to the Edge. How the band, I don't know how long it took to record. Months we're talking, and they recorded it in pieces, and there's stories about them arguing over specific notes. Should it be B flat or F, or stuff like that. So yeah, Close to the Edge, epic, awesome song. And then on side 2, there's 2 songs, Siberian Khatru, and then another classic Yes song called And You and I. Siberian Khatru is a great prog classic. It's got the feeling of momentum and moving forward. I just love that song. It's a great song played live too. Yeah, I don't know how they come up with the stuff, but it's brilliant. And then of course, And You and I, just a climactic, epic song. All 5 members really shine on it, and like I said, I think climactic is really how to describe it. It really just builds and builds and builds to this climax at the end. It's awesome song. So Close to the Edge came out in 1972. My number 1 Yes album, and in this list, my number 1 Yes album of the studio album of the 1970s. So that's my list. If there's any other Yes fans out there that want to chime in on this, I'd love to get your take. Let me know, have you gotten the Steven Wilson remix box set? I know the albums have been out on CD for a couple years now. I'm not sure I've heard all of them. I don't own them. So I tossed around the idea of getting the box set, but I'll probably hold off for now. It'd be a cool to have, but I don't really feel like I need to get them now. So One other thing I should say, yes, I've seen them live many times, double digits. So I haven't sat down and counted them recently, but it's probably in the 14 to 17 area. I've seen them that many times over the years. I haven't seen them in the past 5 or 6 years, though. They seem to tour every year, but I haven't seen them for a little while. So, I don't know. I'll get out to see them again one day, I'm sure. So that's it. This video is a little long, so I'm going to end it here. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you are a fan of Yes, comment below and let me know your thoughts. Okay, thanks for watching. Take care.